continuing on, paccaya vedana. Due to the cause of passa, contact, vedana, feeling arises. Now, feeling in this sense means actually like you're feeling, you're touching something, not an emotion. And these are usually characterized by the Buddha as either pleasant, painful, or neither pleasant nor painful. Something you can think about when you are being mindful of your feelings that arise like that. Vedanāpaccayā taṇhā. Because of feeling, taṇhā. Taṇhā is like a dryness or a thirst, a hunger, a craving. Craving arises due to this feeling. I'm not going to sort of analyze this. There are people who would have much better insight into this than me, but we can probably imagine that this thirst arises because when we have feelings, we tend to want to run towards pleasant feelings and run away from painful ones. And so I think that's where this thirst comes from. Taṇhāpaccayā, on account of thirst, craving. Upādānaṃ. So upādānaṃ is a like a fuel. So a fuel that would keep an individual existence going, something like that. So obviously this is a little metaphorical. You're thinking about a fire. A fire can't exist without like oil or wood or something. Upādānapaccayā, bhavo. Due to the fuel, existence or a state arises. Bhavapaccayā, jāti. Due to existence or a state. I like existence. Jāti, birth. There is, of course, in the Khuddaka Nikaya, the Jātika tales, the tales of the Buddha's former lives. That might be one way to remember jāti. Related really to the word generation. Jātipaccayā, jarāmaraṇaṃ. We're going to hold off on the rest of this line here. Due to birth, jarāmaraṇaṃ. So this is a compound, this is a dvanda compound, meaning that this is just two items, A and B, put together. So jara, now you can think of the word like geriatrics, old age, and then maraṇaṃ, if you think of mortal, it comes from that same root. Maraṇaṃ is death. So due to birth, old age and death come about. And then we get a monstrously long compound. Now, we could start at the end and work our way backwards. This compound is another dvanda. It's a long list of things just put together. So we don't have to go in and try to figure out like how these words are related other than that. And one thing we can do here, make it a little easier on ourselves if we do it like this. Now here there's an elided These short sometimes, you know, they're not extremely important in terms of like, they're not sonically that important. They don't take precedence, let's put it that way. So a word like an oo or something will sometimes just displace it or absorb it somehow. So we have soka. Now, soka is grief, and so soka, you can think of asoka, or I should say asoka. Ashoka is the Sanskrit version, and that's the name of the famous emperor in India. So this, of course, would be sorrowless. This is sorrow or grief. And then we have parideva, which is like a lamentation. Dukkha, you know, we could kind of leave it as dukkha or uneasiness, ill-at-easiness. Suffering would be kind of an extreme form of dukkha, but you'll certainly see people take this word and translate it using the word suffering. This isn't a word that has a good corresponding English counterpart. We kind of have to use a couple of words to get across the meaning of dukkha. Domanassa is distress. And coming here from like again, this is like in dukkha, not well, and manas, so mind, so like an upset mind. Upāyāsa is I like all these I took all from the Pali English dictionary, but trouble, turbulence, tribulation. And so again, these all are run together as one long compound, and it is plural. Now, that would make sense because we're talking about a whole list of things here. And I bring that up because our verb, sambhavanti, is third person plural present active indicative. So we would expect the subject of that verb to be plural, and it is. So sambhavanti, it's obviously related to this word bhavati, to be, to exist. And I think this is like, means are produced, arise, something like that. And if you're familiar, I think it came up before, but with the famous Tibetan sage Padmasambhava, so having arisen in a lotus or from a lotus. Okay, so that takes us kind of to the end of the Paticcasamuppada proper. And then we have this, we're just going to cover one more line here today. Evametassa, kevalassa, dukkhakkhandhassa, samudayo, hotī. So this is actually the end of the Buddha's statement right here, and that's why we're getting this T. And then we have evaṃ, which if it didn't have this vowel right after, it would be evaṃ, as in evaṃ me suttam. Thus, there is and samudayo, the origin. This comes up in the Four Noble Truths, dukkha, samudayo, and origin of suffering there. Here it is the origin, and we kind of have that, dukkhakkhandhassa. Now, khandha is kind of an aggregate, or maybe we could think of it as a mass. So the origin of the mass of dukkha, or the Pali English Dictionary glosses this as all that is dukkha, the arising of the mass of dukkha. And not only that, there are two words sort of qualifying that. There is etassa, this mass of dukkha, and this kevalassa, entire mass of dukkha. I didn't say it, but these are all in the genitive singular, so the origin of, and we would kind of expect there to be a genitive there. Kevala also comes up if you're familiar with Jainism. Kevala jñāna, that's like omniscience, and someone who's attained that is a kevalin.